I'm Professor Brad Lettner, and this is the first of a three-part video series, The Speaker's Toolbox. In this video, I'll introduce the Speaker's Toolbox, its purpose, the three parts of the Speaker's Toolbox, and then I'll cover the first tool in our toolbox. So let's get started. First, why have a Speaker's Toolbox? I like to think about making a speech as crafting or creating a speech. It's something that we build, not just something that we do off the cuff. And just like a mechanic, when he approaches a job, doesn't walk up to it with just a hammer and a screwdriver, he takes a toolbox with him. Or an even better analogy is a cook. When the cook is about to create a dish to present to a group of friends, they don't just walk in with one bowl and one spoon and hope for the best. No, a good cook has a kitchen full of great tools. Well, we're not going to fill your public speaking toolbox with 100 different tools, but we are going to cover three very basic and I hope you'll find very, very useful tools as you create your speeches for this class and for the rest of your lives. So the first tool we'll talk about today is tell them, tell them, tell them. And then the second tool that we'll talk about today is giving a speech as an arrow. That'll be in video 2. And finally, the third tool that we'll talk about in video 3 is say what, so what, now what. If you watched my introduction to the class, my rubric and how I grade, you'll remember that organization is an incredibly important part of how I grade your speeches. And that's why the first tool, tell them, tell them, tell them, just serves as a memory device for you to check, have I met those expectations for a well-organized speech? So tell them, tell them, tell them simply means, first, tell them what you're going to tell them. Second, tell them. And third, tell them what you just told them. In your English writing and high school careers, you'll remember those as having an introduction, the body, and a conclusion. But since we're talking about speech, and because you're not going to write it out, it's very important to have a simple, easy way to remember, and that's why I use tell them, tell them, tell them. So to give you a very brief example, the first tell them what you're going to tell them. In this video, I introduced we'll have 3 tools, and here's what the 3 tools are. By doing that, your mind can wrap itself around. You can begin to say, okay, we're almost done with the first of 3 parts. Okay, we're in the middle point. Okay, this is the last point, we're almost done. And that roadmap helps your audience focus on what you're saying. Versus, I just introduced the videos, we're going to have a speaker's toolbox. And then I say, think of a mechanic. Well, a mechanic has hundreds of tools in his toolbox. Think of a cook. Oh, a cook has hundreds. How long is this video going to last? Now, YouTube lets you cheat. You can just look at the bottom and see how long the video is. But when you're giving a speech, even if you're introduced as having a 5-minute speech, if we're at 4.5 minutes and you're on your 18th point and it doesn't look like you're going to finish anytime soon, it's easy to lose your audience's attention. So open your speech by tell them what you're going to tell them. And then when you tell them, you should follow that same order. So if I was going to tell you what I believed the colors of the United States flag represented, I would introduce it with, today I want to talk about the U.S. flag and what the colors of the flag, red, white, and blue, mean to me. That's tell them what you're going to tell them. And then in my body, I will one by one make my points. So red stands for this. And I would go into history and I would give examples and I would give that point. Point 2, and then white stands for this. And I would explain what I had researched. I would give you a quote and I would make that point about white so it would stick in your mind. And finally blue, and then I would make my point about blue. So that's tell them, make your speech, the body of your speech. But then at the end, especially if you did a great job talking about blue, I might forget what red was all about. And so at the end, tell them what you just told them. For me, that would wrap up our speech about the flag with, and so today I've talked about the colors of the U.S. flag, red, white, and blue. Red meaning this, main point. White meaning this, main point. Blue meaning this, main point. So I hope when you see the flag tomorrow, you'll see it with a better appreciation for what it can stand for in your life. So that's tell them in a nutshell with an example. When you give your speeches, I will grade. Did you introduce what you were going to say? And then did you make your points clearly? And then did you use your conclusion to wrap it up and remind me what your main points were? In video 2, we'll take a look at your speech as an arrow.